Imagine a world where family dinners weren't interrupted by notifications, friendships thrived without Wi-Fi, and life's biggest problems were solved with humor and heart. The 1970s sitcoms weren't just entertainment, they were a blueprint for a simpler, richer life. Maybe the key to happiness isn't new, it's just rerun-worthy. In an era dominated by technology, social media drama, and an increasingly fast-paced lifestyle, many people find themselves yearning for a simpler, more fulfilling way of living. If we take a step back and analyze the sitcoms of the 1970s, we discover that they embodied values that seem to be fading in today's world. Shows like All in the Family, Happy Days, The Jeffersons, and MASH presented a world where family, community, humor, and resilience were at the forefront of life. By living life based on the values showcased in these classic shows, we might find ourselves in a better, more grounded place compared to the anxiety-ridden reality of today. One of the biggest takeaways from 1970s sitcoms is the emphasis on strong family relationships. All in the Family revolved around the often contentious but ultimately loving relationship between Archie Bunker and his family. While today's world often prioritizes individualism and digital interactions over in-person family connections, these shows reminded audiences that family, despite its differences, is the core foundation of life. Similarly, Happy Days gave us the Cunningham family, where Howard and Marion provided steady guidance to their children, Richie and Joni. The show emphasized respect between parents and children, something that seems to be eroding today in a world of screens and social media influences. In contrast to modern families, where members are often lost in their own digital worlds, these sitcoms showed us that family time, shared meals, and open conversations were the glue that held relationships together. If we lived more like the families on these shows, we might find ourselves fostering deeper connections and stronger support systems. A major difference between the 1970s and today is how people engage with their communities. In The Jeffersons, George and Louise moved up in the world but never lost sight of their sense of community. They interacted with neighbors, business owners, and friends in ways that were genuine and heartfelt. Likewise, Laverne and Shirley depicted two best friends navigating life together with a deep sense of loyalty and camaraderie. Their relationships weren't just maintained through texts and emojis. They lived, worked, and experienced real-life adventures together. Contrast this with today's world, where people often maintain friendships through online interactions rather than real-world connections. Social media has given us the illusion of being connected, while, in reality, we're more isolated than ever. If we took a cue from these sitcoms and prioritized real conversations, in-person gatherings, and unwavering friendships, we'd likely experience a much richer, more rewarding social life. One of the most powerful aspects of 1970s sitcoms was their ability to use humor to address serious issues. MASH, a show set in a Korean War medical unit, tackled themes of war, death, and bureaucracy with humor and wit. It showed that even in the darkest moments, laughter could be a form of resilience. Sanford and Son followed a father and son who constantly bickered, but their humor ultimately kept them going despite financial struggles. In today's world, where people often feel overwhelmed by stress, anxiety, and a non-stop news cycle, humor is sometimes lost in the chaos. The 1970s sitcoms taught us that laughter isn't just entertainment. It's a survival tool. If we incorporated more lightheartedness into our lives instead of feeding into outrage culture and perpetual stress, we'd be far better off mentally and emotionally. Unlike today's culture of instant gratification, many 1970s sitcoms portrayed characters who worked hard to achieve their goals. The Jeffersons showed a black businessman, George Jefferson, hustling to build his dry cleaning empire. Good Times followed the struggles of the Evans family as they worked hard to stay afloat financially while maintaining their dignity and humor. Today, there's a growing trend of expecting quick success with minimal effort, largely due to the influence of social media, where people see overnight influencers and viral sensations. However, the reality of sustainable success is much closer to what these sitcoms portrayed: working hard, facing setbacks, and persisting despite challenges. If we lived more like the characters in these shows, valuing hard work, perseverance, and resilience, we would have a greater appreciation for success and self-sufficiency. One of the most remarkable aspects of 1970s sitcoms was their ability to tackle difficult social issues in a way that encouraged conversation rather than division. All in the Family openly addressed racism, sexism, and political tension through the lens of a bigoted, yet sometimes endearing, Archie Bunker. The show didn't tell audiences what to think, but rather presented different perspectives in a way that encouraged discussion. Shows like Good Times and The Jeffersons put African American families at the forefront, highlighting struggles and triumphs in a way that resonated with diverse audiences. Unlike today, where political and social discussions often lead to hostility and cancel culture, these shows proved that humor and storytelling could address sensitive topics while bringing people together. If we applied this approach today, perhaps we'd be more open to civil discourse rather than immediate outrage. The 1970s sitcoms depicted a world without smartphones, endless notifications, and social media-induced anxieties. Instead of doom-scrolling or getting caught up in online arguments, characters enjoyed bowling nights, backyard barbecues, and friendly gatherings at local diners. Three's Company revolved around misunderstandings that were hilarious rather than hostile, proving that not every situation needed to be taken so seriously. Today, many people feel overwhelmed by modern life, constantly comparing themselves to curated versions of reality on social media. If we embraced the simpler, more carefree living portrayed in 1970s sitcoms, focusing on genuine relationships, face-to-face interactions, and everyday joys, we might find ourselves much happier. Life today might be faster and more technologically advanced, but that doesn't mean it's better. The values depicted in 1970s sitcoms, strong family ties, real friendships, humor in adversity, hard work, and a balanced approach to social issues, offer us a blueprint for a more fulfilling life. While we can't time travel back to a world without smartphones or 24-hour news cycles, we can incorporate these timeless lessons into our daily lives. By prioritizing real conversations over digital distractions, embracing humor as a coping tool, and appreciating the satisfaction of hard work, we can create a world that feels a little more like happy days and a little less like the stress-inducing reality we currently navigate. Perhaps in the end, the best way forward is to take a few lessons from the past.